guys. Thank you guys for being here, Deidre.
Hey, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And before we actually started, behind the scenes, we got to see a little bit of your office. And got some manga.
She has the best office. She really does.
Yeah, I have the office that looks like I actually work for the preschool.
and quickly about the Nisei Veteran, this was only my second time here because this used to be an open.
Right. This used to be an open air pavilion. So downstairs we have our education center. We have our archives where we have over 200 collections of Maui's, Nisei, and some Sansei veterans. Oh, wow. And then on our campus outside, as you came in, we have our preschool and we have our adult daycare center. And this was a pavilion that we decided to close and make into this workshop space during COVID.
What inspired that to make this enclosed during COVID?
You know, we do so many programs here, and we were doing a lot of talk story events, and it was just a little too much for the downstairs exhibit space because that's supposed to be for exhibits. So we just wanted to have a big space for the community where we can do workshops, you know, like coming and talking about fitness.
Oh, yes, yes.
You know, we do everything from ikebana to ocha workshops and sushi making workshops.
And it's a lot more convenient to have the location here instead of going, oh, we're going to rent an area over there and then we'll have a workshop there, or we'll go rent someplace else. This way, we have a workshop, we're right here. We have movies, we're right here. We have people speaking, we're right here. So people know where to find us. It's easy.
We have great movies. We have great movies.
Yes.
Every second Saturday.
Every second Saturday.
Monthly movie matinee. Yep. They're free, and we have popcorn.
Oh, that's the pitch. Popcorn, I like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, and everyone's probably curious, how did you guys get started in Nisei? I mean, just off camera, I can feel you guys are so like passionate about everything going on. And how did you get started?
Well, Melanie's actually been here a lot longer than I have. She was with the organization before it even had a space.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, before it had a space.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've been with the organization since, you know, we didn't even have buildings yet. We were in, you know, garages, people's garages. We had office space in, you know, the Arizumi building and things like that. That's when I started as a volunteer.
Wow. Wait, so what year was that?
Early 2000s.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, early 2000s.
Early 2000s. And
so I came in 2016. I've loved every minute of it. I grew up in Japan, so I've always had an affinity toward the, Japan, Japanese American story, and they were looking for somebody, and I was lucky to be the one to move forward with the organization at that time, and I've been here ever since. So yeah.
You know, one thing I catches my attention anytime is when the Hatsuon for Japanese words. Hatsuon is pronunciation. It's on point. I was like, oh. There's something, it just adds, I was like, wait a minute, how is it so good? So you were raised in Japan?
Yeah, so my mother and my brother and we moved to Japan when I was 11, back in the early 1980s. So my brother and I went to Japanese school on the island of Shikoku in a little town called Imabari. So we went to Japanese schools, had wonderful experiences, learned Japanese, and yeah.
So was it a culture shock when you came to, so after Japan, you were 11, and then how old were you when you moved?
I think I was about 15 when we moved back, and we lived in China for a little while, but it was definitely a culture shock coming back to the United States after living in Japan. And that's why I think Hawaii is so perfect, right? Because it is really that bridge between Japan and America, and you really feel at home here, with an Asian mindset. So it's great to call Hawaii home.
So mainland Hawaii, and like, what keeps you still going today? Because I know that was 2016, so 7 years ago. And what keeps you guys going today?
Well, for me, you know, I mean, I think it's the stories, the values upon which, you know, the men and their families served and sacrificed so much. And, you know, our mission is to inspire people to find the hero within themselves through the legacy of the Nisei veterans. And I have some great stories to share. But I will, you know, I'll turn it over to Melanie because, you know, well, her story was different.
It's a little similar though. But I was lucky when I came in, we still had a lot of the veterans. So I was able to meet a lot of them. And my biggest fortunate thing was meeting Hiroshi Arizumi from Arizumi Brothers. They constructed this and everything. Hiroshi was an amazing veteran. He was an amazing person. He was the sweetest person. And he and I hit it off right off the bat. And he would take me to these events, or I would go as, you know, part of the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center, and he would introduce me around to all of these other veterans. So I was able to hear a lot of these stories firsthand. When they tell you that they spent part of the war driving cars on the Autobahn because, you know, there was malaria and they couldn't rejoin their unit. I got to hear all of these stories about, you know, walking along the Vosges Mountains in the dark with only a lit cigarette so that, you know, the Germans wouldn't see them, but the trucks behind them could. So they could follow the soldiers. And I got to hear all of these stories firsthand. And my whole thing is, this is why I'm here, to share these stories.
Especially now, you know, I mean, these stories have to be shared. I mean, they're just amazing stories that are as relevant today. You know, the lessons that we learn from the stories are as relevant today as they were, you know, 80 some years ago. So